I'm Stephen John Drew from the official GonnaGeek.com show, a weekly geek news podcast that is a part of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other awesome geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
Welcome back to the Intellectual Podcast. I'm your host, David S. Dawson. Thank you for joining us once again. We are on the eve of our live performance at San Diego HooCon. That's right, the Intellectuals are coming back to SD HooCon for a second year to do a live reading of a Big Finish Doctor Who audio drama. This year, we're featuring The Silent Scream. It's a Fourth Doctor adventure. Joining me on stage will be Whitney Wegman, Chris Szabo, Richard Hawkins, Stephen Schwartz, and Heather Berberet. And audio is being done by Brian. You might hear him working on some stuff in the background while I'm recording this intro. It's going to be a great time. So go to sdhoocon.com and check out the schedule of events at HooCon. It's a great event. Starts today, Friday, the day this is dropping on the internets. So make sure you're checking it out. It's at the Four Points Sheraton on Arrow Drive. You'll go there and hang out with a bunch of cosplayers who love Doctor Who, British television, and generally speaking are just incredibly fun, geeky people. Speaking of geeky people, we're a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network, so be sure to check out GonnaGeek.com to find other incredibly geeky podcasts like The Intellectual. And if you haven't started listening to it, be sure to check out Sci-Fi Sunday version 2.0, the return of our pop culture podcast at theintellectual.com or ixe.us. Most recently, we talked about the summer box office, and we also discussed the latest news out of Disney, who's had a lot of big wins this year and a couple of small setbacks maybe. But you can hear all about it if you go listen to Sci-Fi Sunday at our website, theintellectual.com. Today's episode is a fun one. We sit down with Chris Szabo, who's also a member of our intellectual acting troupe, who will be joining us at HooCon. Chris is a frequent collaborator of ours, having starred in our film Tossed Aside, which hopefully will be showing up on Amazon Prime Video very soon. We had a great time chatting with him. Steve came down from LA to be my co-host on this one, and I think you'll enjoy it. So without any further delay, here's Chris Szabo on the Intellectual Podcast.
Talk hard and enjoy the mindgasm. The Intellectual Podcast starts now.
Steve.
Sir.
Been a while since you've been on the podcast.
Yes, it
co-hosting.
has. Yeah.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
What you been up to?
Working at the park at the happiest place on earth, and driving Uber and Lyft like crazy.
Fun, I guess.
Fun. I have more fun at the park, but I make more money driving Uber and Lyft.
Well, life's about balance, right?
Yes.
Speaking of balance, our guest today is a guy who also finds a lot of balance between work and fun and pursuing his passions, Mr. Christopher Szabo.
Oh, that's me. I'm here.
Hey,
hello.
Chris.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Chris, if anybody's a fan of Intellectual, Chris should be a familiar face, having been our lead in Tossed Aside.
Yes. Aside. We still didn't get that pronunciation, if it was Aside or Aside or Asinine.
Well, the thing's about a snake, so it's
Tossed Aside.
Yeah,
I was an
there
actor
you
in
go.
that. I should have known that by now.
Yeah.
Here we are.
You killed the snake. So.
Yeah, I did. That was fun. I enjoyed doing that. Wow. God, that was a year and a half. That's almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Oof,
this December will be 2 years ago that we started shooting it.
Wow,
yeah,
holy cow.
I know. I got the gray hairs.
I was
to show
still
it too.
employed. Oh, that was amazing.
That was the first time we worked together, right?
Yeah, because I think we've always had like a degree of separation, but we'd never like directly worked on a project before that. But when you guys I think it was you and Mike. I think actually Mike was the one that recommended me because Mike and I had worked on that Star Wars fan film,
right?
And then I think he had recommended me to you, and I just worked with.
Well, at that point between Mike and Mushy and Kayla, Like
Yeah.
there were enough people in my orbit who also did a figure 8 into your orbit.
Right. And then we just
That
went around the
eventually
moon,
pulled us all
came
together,
back. Yeah. Houston, we have a problem.
And since then, you've also done some live reading stuff with us. For,
We did.
WhoCon.
Yeah, we did Big Finish last year, which was pretty fun. I got to put on my British persona in front of a live audience. I think it was a record 10 people.
Yes.
Was it 10 people? Yeah.
I think at one point we had 15.
Yeah, well, yeah. And then those I think that one lady had a heart attack and she brought her family with her and they had to leave, right? Yeah.
Well, it was like a big experiment last year. Like, just getting Big Finish to give us permission to do a live reading of one of their audio dramas
Huge.
was
Amazing.
like pulling teeth.
Yeah. We literally had to go over there and
they were super nervous about it because nobody had ever asked them to do that before.
Mm-hmm. But we're
we're
trailblazers.
Trailblazers,
we would
baby.
like to read your script in front of people that probably are going to be there.
And then, and so they didn't know exactly when to put us. So they put us on kind of late on a Friday night and
Up against ice cream social.
one of their largest,
Stiffest competition there.
largest events. So
Radio play, free ice cream.
Oh yeah, I remember that because we were like, you guys can still get the ice cream and then bring it in here.
Yeah.
And like people's
well,
faces
they also had us way in the back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just like tucked away in the corner.
Tucked way back in this back room.
And not to bring up the
let's not talk about the thing in the back.
turd in the bunch bowl.
Yeah,
The what?
Just leave. Never mind. Don't.
Okay.
What? That's going to be for the VIP access if you'll subscribe to our Twitcher. No, I was kidding.
No, apparently somebody did something nasty in the bathroom in the hallway leading towards our room.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
So it created a stench, and people were like, "You know what? I want ice cream."
Yeah, I want ice cream, but I don't want to bring my ice cream
I don't
through
want
the
to bring
gas
it into
cloud.
this turd-filled room of people.
But they've asked us back. Actually, Big Finish wanted us to record last year's performance because they wanted to see what we were doing.
Right. Make sure we weren't
we weren't allowed to share that with anybody.
Right.
But them. So we shared the video with them, and from what I understand, they came back to San Diego WhoCon this year and said, "Hey, if you guys want to do that live reading thing again, we liked what you did last year. Here's 2 scripts. You can use them both, or you can pick one." So if I wasn't so busy this weekend because I got a show loading in on Sunday in La Jolla, we'd have done 2 scripts this weekend. Oof. But no, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That's Saturday, 11 o'clock? No, 10:30 to 12:30 at the 4 Points Sheraton.
That's 10:30
on
p.m.
Arrow Drive.
to 12:30 a.m.
AM, please, because I have to.
It's AM.
I'm completely joking.
I'm going back up to Anaheim to work.
Oh my goodness!
After that, so
your life does sound
You
like
are?
mine. Which just
What time do you work?
7 o'clock.
Oh, right. I just want to make sure because we're also podcasting
Yes, I know.
after that.
I know. You said 2:30 is a hard out, so
yeah, because your life sounds like mine, where it's just like you're like gig, and then you're like, oh, rideshare driving. Like I've been working like up in the shop this week with David, and I'll do Uber on the way, and then I'll come into the shop, and then I've had like 3 notifications of like either a callback or audition this week, and so I'm like, all right, time to go home and prepare this, which is great, but it's like. The ride sharing's nice,
Yeah.
It makes it flexible for our line of work to be able to do what we want to do.
and I keep my ID with me, my work ID and my badge and my hat and belt, and so I try to get enough time while I'm Ubering. If I have enough time, I'll just race over to the park, have enough time to go over to costuming, get a shirt and a pair of pants, and get into Indiana Jones. So.
That's crazy. So you play Indiana Jones?
Hey,
Yeah.
Steve, switch hands.
I'm more of his Jewish New Jersey cousin. So
Right.
but I work at the Indiana Jones attraction.
Nice.
You're welcome.
That's awesome. No, I was going to say, because David wanted you to switch hands. I was confused. It was the microphone. We were switching hands on the microphone.
Yeah, so
Yes.
he's talking with his
I was-
left hand.
I'm talking with this hand,
Right.
and with for those of you who are not watching this at home,
Steve was talking,
Which is everyone.
basically, Steve was talking with one hand.
I was gesticulating with one hand.
Gesticulate to you and holding the mic in the other hand, which is the hand that's further away from you.
Right.
Yeah.
And thus pointing the mic further away because he's horrible at mic etiquette.
this.
Yes.
I just It's supposed to be I lick, then you lick, then I lick, then you licks, but
Right.
you get it wrong and then
Right.
Wow.
Just wanted to make sure for our non-visual audience that they knew
Yes.
why we were switching hands. Everything's open. Everything's clear. We're good.
So, speaking of all these
Speaking of switching
auditions
hands.
and things that you've got, you had a big audition yesterday, Chris.
Yeah, I had a callback for San Diego Musical Theater for She Loves Me. Yes,
nice.
Very, very beautiful play. They did it at Scripps Ranch this year, I believe. We have the neighborhood dogs in the background. I don't know if you can hear
They
that.
probably can't hear
Oh,
it.
dang. They're beautiful.
It's surprising how little of the neighborhood noise gets picked
Really?
up by
Picked up,
these
really?
mics.
Yeah. Well, I guess these are direct
we hear
mics.
our phones more than we hear the noise outside.
Right.
Good point.
But yeah, I had an audition. I had an audition for that on Monday, saying my beautiful rendition of A Whole New World from the classic Aladdin, and I think I won their hearts.
I was
over.
singing that on Monday.
Oh, it's probably because I was in your head.
Well,
No, we were at Disneyland.
Oh,
Well,
that makes
I
more
was.
sense.
I had all the songs from Frozen in my head the last several days. So it's
And I'm eating frozen graham crackers, so it's like
Oh,
weird. We're
wow.
all just like intertwined here. I am eating. This is Sean. Sean is one of the.
He's an intellectual mini.
He's an intellectual mini. Sean, say
he's larger than an intellectual mini. I would say he's an intellectual junior.
perfect. Got that peak level.
Loud.
Wow, you just blew out Uncle Bubba's ears.
Bye.
Sorry about the viewers and your bleeding ears. But yeah, so I had that audition. I've been really wanting to work with San Diego Musical Theater for a couple of years now, just because they put on really good productions. I've had a lot of friends that have worked with them and just have heard nothing but great things. And so, of course, I just went in with the audition, no expectations, just had fun, got a call back, which was great. And then I got a phone call this afternoon and they were like, "Hey, is this Chris Szabo? This is Jill with SDMT. I'm like, "Hi, what can I help you with?" And then she told me I got a supporting role, and I just about started crying on the phone. So
Yay.
yeah,
Good for you.
Thank you. It was very exciting.
So is this the Tommy Tune musical?
Tommy Tune musical.
He did. It sounds like something that he did on Broadway.
No, so they recently did it on Broadway with Zachary Levi from Shazam. Thank you. I was about to say Flashback for some reason. Totally not the same film.
Of course, my reference for Zach Levi is always Chuck.
Yeah, that's always a good reference, but more recent reference. But yeah, he did a Broadway stage adaptation of that. But it's an older musical,
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that because I believe Tommy Tune also did it.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with Tommy Tune, but I'll have to go back and watch that once I start doing the character work now, because I get to go read over that whole play. I've like seen it several times online. Thankful that
I think it was Tommy Tune and Sandy Duncan.
Sandy Duncan. Okay.
Okay, for those of you at home who are under the age of 40,
That's me.
Tommy Tune and Sandy Duncan are famous actors and singers and dancers from the 70s.
Ah, okay. Yep. That's before my time. That's probably why.
Before my time, too. So.
Wait, you're under 40?
Well, I'm not over 50.
Thank you.
But continuing. But yeah, so I got that. So thanks for asking about it. I was very, very excited about that. And that opens up in February 2020, which can we also agree that this is the last few months of this decade, which is kind of crazy. We're about to get into a new decade, 2020.
Yeah, yeah.
Woo.
The 20s.
2020
We're
I
vision.
can't believe we're
20s.
2 decades into
2 decades into the 2000s.
Yeah.
Well,
That's nuts to me. Like I was talking to somebody the other day. They were asking about my Prius. And they're like, "What year's your Prius?" And I was like, 2012. Thinking it's just like in the last few years. And they're like, "Oh wow, it's like almost an 8-year-old car." And I'm like, "Oh God."
Right.
yeah, I mean, I had a 2010 and it's Prius. And
Well, I remember being a kid and like the movie 2010 came out, you know,
Yeah.
which of course made me go
2010
back and
Space
watch
Odyssey.
2001, and both of those years seemed so far away,
we had-
and now they're so long ago.
Yeah.
when I was a little kid, when I was really, really little, there was a Saturday morning cartoon that was called C-Lab 2020. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how old am I going to be in 2020?
Right.
And I'm like, 55? Ugh. And I was like 7 or 8 at the time.
Isn't it so funny how like at that young age we can like always imagine ourselves like so far in the future?
Right.
Like,
And I'm like, I'm going to be 55 one day, and I'm 55
and you're
I'm
like,
oh crap. I was 14 once. I was 7 once.
It's weird. It's weird how like we project those images. Like it's like, oh, I can't wait until I'm like an adult, and we think of ourselves as like, or at least I did. It was like, I'm gonna be this tall guy, and like I'm gonna grow into my looks. I'm gonna be an astronaut, and I'm gonna like do all these huge things. And it's just,
I wanted to be an astronaut too.
oh, nice.
Yeah, I grew up during the space race.
Oh yeah.
So
True.
I loved astronauts, but I wanted to be an astronomer. That was
Yeah,
really
astronomer is good too. Yeah.
astrophysicist.
Well, I thought, I kept hearing the term space junk. All this stuff that they're leaving behind on the moon was space junk. And I said, that would be something that would be really cool to look at.
Right.
So I wanted to be a garbage man on the moon.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. Well, you
Steve
literally
always shoots
invented
real
a new
high.
job.
Yeah.
He shoots real high and then finds a way to
I'm
bring it back
sorry,
down.
that's a cool job.
Like,
in
be
the
a garbage
future.
man on the moon so I can look at the space junk.
Dang. You know that's going to be like in like 30, 40, 50 years. I don't know how many.
People
Don't
are
quote
going to
me.
want to go back to the moon and see these artifacts from
Right.
the 60s.
Right. And there's going to be that stuff. And there's going to
Yeah.
be people that are going to be like, yeah, I just take garbage from like the moon back to the earth. It's
Yeah.
whatever.
They're going to have to actually cordon off that entire area so other people's footprints don't.
Right. Don't like
There'll
obstruct.
be international parks.
Right.
Yeah. That's crazy. Like we are getting close to that because I think we've already started doing that with Mars because we're already starting to like send like missions or trying to send missions off to Mars.
Well,
And
we've
so we're
already
starting to
sent-
separate. Like,
We've already sent the first vehicle.
right. Oh yeah, that's right.
Elon Musk sent
Yep.
his car. So,
Oh, Musk.
No, he didn't send his car to Mars.
yeah, he did.
I think he did.
No,
Did
it's
he
in-
send him or does he just launch into space?
It's in a perpetual like orbit.
Around Mars.
Yeah, I think it's around Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it made it to Mars.
We're gonna get fact checkers on this. At the end
Anyway,
of
it doesn't matter. His
But-
car's out there like forever.
God,
Yes.
I wish Elon Musk just. I mean, it's cool that he shot like a car in space. I mean, that's kind of cool.
Not just a car in space.
Corvette, wasn't it?
No, it was his
Tesla.
Tesla.
Oh, is the Tesla?
It was his Tesla Roadster. It was his
It's
car.
like the most brilliant piece of advertising. Like
Oh my God,
viral
isn't it?
advertising.
And what's even better is for those real nerds out there, those Douglas Adam fans,
right.
he put on the dashboard a sign saying, don't
Don't
panic.
panic.
I don't.
Which is what it says on the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy on the cover.
Oh, okay.
On the back cover. It says, don't panic.
I think I started watching that movie a long time ago.
You should read the book.
I should read the book.
books are-
I've heard the books are fantastic.
I listened to the first book. It's read by Stephen Fry. And he was also the narrator in the film.
Right.
So having to hear the whole book like that is just incredible.
Huh. Yeah, I need to go back and check that out. But that's cool that he did that little kind of like, what do you call that? Easter egg? Would that be considered an Easter egg?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tesla did an Easter egg. God, we're going to look at that in the history books. That's going to be funny.
So, Chris,
So me.
so where are you from?
I was
It's kind of a loaded question, I know.
It's, where are we all from? Let's go back to the beginning.
Well, my mommy and daddy loved each other very much.
No, Steve, everybody's heard your story. We're focusing on Chris right now.
Okay, well, Steve's mommy and daddy loved each other.
6 years of doing this show. We've heard plenty of Steve. I'd like to know more about you, Chris.
Yeah, I was born in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Poor white child.
Poor white child. I was actually born a poor black child. That's a movie reference. That's really funny. I was born to my dad was Canadian, my mom was American, and me and my brother both were born in Calgary, Alberta. My sister was born in Louisiana, of all places. We were a very diverse family. I lived there the first 7 years of my life.
In Canada?
Yep. And then moved to Illinois when I was.
So mom was American?
Mom was
Dad's
American.
Canadian?
Dad's Canadian.
So you're-
Dad lived in Canada most of his life, but he's Hungarian. Like they came, my
Well,
grandparents.
with the last name Szabo.
Yeah. My grandparents and my dad came over to Canada.
Canada, Hungarian, America. Changarian?
Kangarian?
Chunmerican?
Kangarian? Sounds like Kandarian demons from Evil
That was
Dead or
really
something.
hard.
Yeah, no, because my dad came to Canada with my grandparents when he was 2 years old to escape the 1956 Hungarian Revolution, with a communist overthrow in Hungary at the time. And yeah, it was a pretty harrowing story of how they got into the country. And my grandpa was kind of like the classic story of didn't know a lick of English, $10 in his pocket, and like just built up a life for his family.
So
like
asylum seeker.
Yeah, he was an asylum seeker. My grandpa was actually, he was in the equivalent of a concentration camp. It was a work camp in Russia during World War II. And like he just has all these stories that I've gotten to learn over a lot more in the last 10 years from him. But yeah, just his story of just coming to, I mean, it was Canada, but to North America and building a life for my dad and his sister and my grandma. And then everything that's just made me be as fortunate as I am today is just, it's a legacy I always try to keep at the forefront of my mind. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty important to me. But yeah, so I grew up in Canada for the first 7 years of my life, and then lived in Moline, Illinois for a year and a half. Very short stint there. And then grew up in Louisiana for most of my life. I lived there for about 17 years. And,
So transition from Canada to Louisiana, pretty big cultural shift.
I actually didn't realize it until I was in therapy later in like college. And like we were just going over, it's like, let's go back to your childhood. Just really casual. And he's like, is there anything that happened, like big move or anything? I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot how mad I was at my parents for taking me out of school and bringing me to Louisiana. And I was so confused because Canada, for those of you that have been to Canada is just this place of everybody loves you. It's very egalitarian, just a very friendly country. And then I came to Louisiana and it just felt not like that. It was very opposite. Like just,
I like how Canadian you described that.
Yeah, right. It was like Louisiana, like definitely has its positives, but like it was a complete culture shock, like a totally different atmosphere of just Southern politics and Southern living, and then just the manner that people like talked was different for me. And it was a big culture shock that took me quite a few years to kind of like realize that it was culture shock, because I didn't know what culture shock was at the young tender age of 7. But yeah, I grew up in Louisiana for most of my life, and then I came out here to San Diego and been here for 5 years now. Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
That's my living trajectory.
So when you came to San Diego, was it with the intention of going into acting and pursuing the arts, or did you come out here for another reason and then find your way moving into the arts, or has the arts always been part of your makeup?
Arts definitely has always been a part of the makeup. Like I say, I've unofficially been an actor since like the 3rd grade, just because I did a lot of theater growing up and comedy sketches with friends, short films with friends. I got plugged into like the TV and film industry, just working like background and production assistant work for like 7 years in Louisiana when it was like the Hollywood of the South. And then I came out to San Diego for a totally different reason. I worked with a nonprofit out here called Invisible Children, which they were made famous for Kony 2012, the viral sensation about capturing the warlord Joseph Kony. I worked with them as an intern. It was my first time in San Diego. I did that for 6 months, and I traveled around the country as a roadie, and I went to schools all across the South and the West Coast and raised money for our programs in Central Africa, and did a bunch of public speaking events with them. And it was one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life. And of course, was a wandering 20-something and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I finished that, went back home for a little bit, and I was working on a TV show as a stand-in for like 6 months. And like I really got my feet wet on set and working on a production and making connections with really good people. And it kind of like amped up the acting career. I was like, okay, maybe this doesn't have to be like just something I'm interested in or is just fun. It's something that I could like actually do. So I actually came out to San Diego not because of the acting, but because I just wanted to be closer to the community of people and friends that I had made out here in San Diego with invisible children. And I started working like odd jobs, and I eventually became a substitute teacher for a while because I thought, teaching, that's a great way to give back, and I can teach kids and work with kids, and I can also, act in front of kids and like be an entertainer. Mm-hmm. And it was actually as a substitute teacher that I realized that I was putting the acting on the side, and that was the true passion. And I was kind of playing it safe and like doing the teaching.
Right.
And I kind of came to a point where I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to have my entire life, I could be a teacher, but I'm not going to have my entire life to be able to be an actor. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to jump full-fledged into this and give this a real shot. And so I like quit that job, bought a used Prius, started ride sharing, quickly realized that wasn't a way to make money full-time. And then started working for a small business in conjunction with doing ride sharing. Got, new headshots, got involved in an acting class, got represented with a couple agencies, did some short films. And then it's just been a whirlwind ever since, and I've loved it. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah. What was one of the first projects that you kind of really got involved in here in San Diego?
First projects I got involved here in San Diego. That's a good question. Early on, actually, I do know that answer. So when I was at Invisible Children, is just this amazing group of just big-hearted, loving people that are also extremely humble and talented. And I had befriended a couple named the Fordhams, Kelsey and Tyler Fordham.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're familiar with them.
Mm-hmm.
And
lovely people.
Yeah, great people. And I was in Kelsey at around the same time as me, had jumped into acting as well. She was working like the 9-to-5 corporate job and just felt, the calling in her gut to just be like, nah, this isn't it. I got to go for what I love and what I'm passionate about. And so I actually had coffee with her and sat down and talked with her about that decision because I was kind of going through the same decision-making process. Mm-hmm. And she was like kind of the one that was the catalyst for me to go ahead and jump after the acting because she had done it herself. And so I jumped into it. And around that same time, we have this with the Invisible Children community, what started as this backyard film festival called Fright Storm. It's every year, it's in October, and it's really just like, we set up a projector in the backyard, everybody brings over booze and food, and we just watch a bunch of scary movies that we've made. Either some of them are like just terrible quality and just made for the pure fun of it. And then there's some of them that people like really try and really want like to make something entertaining and scary.
Right.
So, Kelsey and I having, jumped into our acting and kind of being fresh, and Tyler, her husband, just this amazingly creative guy. They wanted to make a short film for this backyard film festival. So that was the first project that I got to work on with them. I played a psychologist, and the short film was called See Me. It's actually on, I believe it's online. It's on Vimeo.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah. And it's a really great short story. They filmed it for under like $200 in like their tiny little apartment, and they just use like tinfoil as bounce for like the lighting. And it like did well on the festival route. Like she won like best actress for it here at the San Diego Film Festival that year. And, and there were official selections for about 4 other, film festivals near the Los Angeles area, I believe. And that was like the first project where I really got, as an actor, kind of like my feet wet on like a set where it's like, okay, here's a script, here's lighting, here's our rehearsal times, here's the call sheet. And it was just an amazingly fun project to work on. Obviously, I've been really fortunate to continue to be friends with them. Sounds weird to say. I've been really fortunate to continue to work with them on other projects. We just finished another project earlier this year in March. And it's called This Land. I think it's going to be coming out later this year. But it's a film about environmentalism, and it's this giant allegory about how our decisions impact the way nature runs, and it tells it in a really short but compelling way. And we had some really great actors on that. It was Tyler's debut, kind of like directing something, and had a whole budget to it. And it was a really, really fun project to work on. So I'm excited to see that one come out next here, probably in the next couple months. I think we're just finishing up the music and coloring for it right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to work with Kelsey, I think one time. That was on our Bring It On spoof.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
So.
It's funny when you can like look back at like those older skits, like in your early days, like, because I think Kelsey and I had talked about that not too long ago, and like rewatching it, it's just funny how you can see the contrast between how she acts now and like just the way she works and like that early on stuff. And it's the funniest contrast for me to like watch that, because I thought she was hilarious and Bring It On, and just with her pigtails and everything. That was great.
Yeah. Well, that was a fun piece because it was really broad. You know,
yeah.
Like everybody was able to just kind of bring whatever.
Do whatever they wanted, bring it all to the table.
Randy was so over the top. You know, it was like everybody had the opportunity.
Jazz hands.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're up in LA now though, right?
Yeah, they're living up in Los Angeles doing the LA thing. I feel like every other conversation I have with Kelsey is so when are you coming up to LA? And it's always on my radar in the back of my mind of getting up there, just because I literally every time I don't know, I know most people have their very strong opinions about LA and traffic and the smog and all that other stuff, but I kid you not, every time I go up to LA, it's like I'm just like walking into paradise. Like,
wow, that's because you don't live there.
It's just like
LA is the epitome of it's a fun place to visit.
Yes,
you know.
It's just like the energy, because it's just like every time I'm there, usually it's something audition or acting related, but it just feels like it's just like there's so many passionate, creative people that are just trying to make things there.
Yeah,
and like it's like you can
you're still viewing it with starry eyes.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to kind of see the world. I've always
if you can maintain that sensation.
Oh, totally.
Cool.
Yeah,
but it's been my experience talking to many people, and including people who are very actively working in Los Angeles.
Right.
They all fucking hate it after a certain period of time.
Oh yeah.
Like you can't get away from all the fake people, all the vain people.
Yeah.
The traffic is insane.
Right.
You know, 3 hours to go, 3 miles kind of thing. Like it wears on you over time, you know? So, there's a lot of LA to like.
Yeah.
Yeah. But especially that portion of LA where Hollywood is and where that 30-mile radius exists. It's a hard place to be on a daily basis.
I agree. It's like, I always think about it when like people like say like, I mean, I've asked multiple friends that have even just recently moved up there. I'm like, how do you feel about your decision? They're like, traffic sucks, it's smog, it's hard to run outside, et cetera, et cetera. And I always hear those things, and don't have to go off this tangent too long. But I'm a firm believer in like the belief of like, you can be realistic with like, yeah, traffic sucks. Yeah. Smog. Yeah. You can encounter vain people, but I'm always in the perspective of like what you're focusing on. That's what you're going to kind of get.
Yeah.
Cause like, it's like
I think what it comes down to is that starry eye syndrome lasts for so many no's.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. You got to take a lot of
because
rejection.
Audition is a lot of rejection.
Totally.
And all of the rest of that stuff is stuff you can cope with as long as the dream's alive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if you start encountering enough no's,
it breaks you down.
It will just chip away at that sunny exterior until there's nothing left but a bitter core,
So you're nothing but a jaded Los Angeles sadist.
If you're one of the lucky, fortunate ones to land work and migrate off to Vancouver to go shoot something or Atlanta to go shoot something,
right?
Because nothing shoots in LA. Like if you can actually break free and get out and work in the business, but no longer have to live in LA all day long, like cool,
right?
But it's the 1% of our business that get that opportunity, right? The rest of us,
turn to other
really
things.
is that question of how long you can fight against that rejection machine.
Right.
How long can you hold up breaking you down? Some people go up and within 3 months, like
They're like,
I'm out,
jaded, and like done with it.
I'm
Yep.
fucking done with this, you know. And I know I know.
Well,
other
let's be
people-
realistic and not sugarcoat it for our listeners. Just a second. Sorry.
I know other people who go up and you know, they've been there 10 years and they're still making the good fight, but it's now finally starting to wear.
Oh,
off,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like there's no like linear. I think it's the
Well, and
phrase,
this is
there's no
and
linear
this is
path
and
with
this is
kind of
the
thing.
this is the business that isn't a career; it's a series of gigs. So even after you land something, right, that doesn't mean you're set for life.
No, you're set for now.
You're set for now,
right?
Yeah.
And then the cycle starts all over again,
Right.
You know, and it's how quickly can you string in the next win and the next
How
win?
quickly
and
can you capitalize on that?
How often can you continue to win?
Right.
You know,
And it takes a lot of energy. It's like you'll quickly learn when you go up to Los Angeles, like where your heart is in it. Like if you're in it for like the money or like the fame or just like getting just doing all these huge great projects, like, you know, probably you'll get jaded a lot more quickly. But if you're like in it for the passion of it and you just have like this love for it, and you can last through those like no's and you've at least had the experience. I think that's why it's like great that I've had the experience of like getting my feet really wet down here in San Diego and having experience even before I came out here, is that it's given me that realistic perspective, kind of like you're talking about, of like, yes, you're going to face a lot of rejection. Yes, you're going to face a lot of blockades in your career. But at the end of the day, it's, I think, especially as an actor, you have to have that mindset of being able to say, you love what you do, you have the passion for what you do, and is that going to be the thing that gets you past all those no's, gets you past all that rejection? Because I think it's less about what's out there that pushes against you, but more that's what's inside of yourself that pushes against
Certainly.
you. Yeah.
Well, and
that little voice inside you,
100%.
I mean, is constantly gnawing at you, saying,
You're not good enough.
You're not
you
good
can't
enough.
Do
you can't
this.
do
Look,
this.
somebody else said no. There's all these other better people
Look who's
out
better than you.
Exactly. And like,
look who's not better than me
Yeah,
at booking
right.
a job. you
and
know?
if like, and if you continuously listen to that and give more focus and give more energy
Right.
to that, you're going to start seeing that in your outer world.
Yeah.
But I'm like a huge believer in being able to like notice those things and be like, hey, wait a minute, I'm actually going to do this because I love it. And like, if I don't get it, that's okay. It's probably not me 99% of the time. It's just, I don't fit that role, or they're looking for somebody else for that. And
Well, I think the difficulty too, though, is part of making the move to Los Angeles is making a commitment to turn the passion into business.
yeah, it's a big part.
Right. And it's easier when you're not in LA to be like, oh, I do it for the passion and it's about, you know, pursuing this dream and, you know, enjoying the work and like whatever. But when you go to LA, and let's face it, LA is not a cheap place to live.
Yeah.
True.
It's
Very
more
true.
expensive than living here, which is already pretty expensive. But you're going there specifically to be an actor,
Right.
quote unquote.
Right.
And passion doesn't put food on the table necessarily,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And you can only sleep on buddies' couches for so long before
yeah.
that wears down on you too. And, you
Yeah.
know, and so you're making a different commitment when you make that move.
Right.
And
It's no.
and the one thing I tell a lot of people is like, don't make the move to LA unless you have some sort of support system.
Yeah, I think who you know up there is important, but also what you're doing in the meantime. Because like,
Right.
that's I think that's
what's your fallback position.
Exactly.
What's your day job?
right. Because like I think it was one of my acting teachers. He's like, you know, don't have a plan B, because then you're already giving yourself that space for doubting that you're not going to succeed. But I get where he's coming from with that, but I'm in the firm believer, like when I quit my like day job to like actually full-fledged jump into the acting, like I took 6 months to save up money, really research like a job that would like, you know, get me through, research the opportunities and how that would work. And like, I took my time and had like a plan of action. So I didn't like, you know, jump, you know, willy-nilly or like, you know, starry-eyed into it.
Right.
And like I had to adjust along the way, and I've had to like, you know, some things have worked and some things haven't. But I'd say that's probably one of the biggest things that's probably prevented me from moving up to LA, is not that I'm afraid of, like, you know, I'm not going to make it, but more so of like, okay, while I'm really pursuing this and really working at this, how am I going to continue to make money, and how am I going to continue to support myself in an industry where it's like, you know, you have to be available for an audition usually on the same day notice or a 24-hour notice.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and especially with LA traffic, like, how are you going to make yourself available the entire day for, you know, an audition maybe on the west side and you're on the east side? And I think that's a
when it
huge
can
part.
take 3 hours to go
Right.
3 miles.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part. And I think it's going to be, I think that's why acting is like, I've said before, it's not a non-linear thing, because everybody has a different path. There might be people that are listening to this and like completely are nodding their heads and agreeing. It's like, yeah, you got to make sure you're prepared, but have the passion.
Yeah, but then you have the Ashton Kutchers of the world who get off the bus and land their first job.
And the
you
job.
know? It's like,
right. Or you have like people like Harrison Ford that, like, you know, did theater most of his life and then went up to LA.
Worked as a carpenter,
and then like just landed a role on Star Wars, and that was like his breakout kind of like thing. So it's like,
well, that whole thing that was, you know, he was doing Steven Spielberg, George Lucas a favor,
right. I think he was
because,
like doing like carpentry job for like one of, was it for George Lucas, or was like somebody that was
he
like
was already in American Graffiti,
right? That's right.
And George asked him to come in and just read with other people, read against all the other actors and actresses.
Right.
They were coming, and he was just there to read.
Right.
And George Lucas, over time, is like, you know what?
And I think he land that opportunity. Like, he got that connection because like it was his carpentry, actually,
right?
Because the neighborhoods that he was working in, he was like working with like Hollywood directors, like producers, and somebody like was like, hey, like gave him
good looking guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Who was a good looking guy, still is. God bless you, Harrison Ford. Please sponsor us.
The grumpy old
I love. Oh my God, he reminds me of my grandpa because he's so sarcastic. He's like a sarcastic,
so
grumpy.
curmudgeonly, man.
Oh, I love it. He's so funny. God, I hope he lives to be 200. He's so great.
He's already halfway there.
Yeah, he'd probably say like he wouldn't want to live till 200.
Yeah, supposedly they're getting ready to make Indy 5, and I'm just kind of like,
I know,
what
man.
the hell is
They're
it?
really pushing him. Oof.
I mean, you know, it was great seeing him as Han Solo a few years ago, but that was already a few years ago. You know?
I mean, they got Gemini Man coming out with Will Smith, and they CGI'd him to look younger. So I'm pretty sure they could just do the same with old Harry.
You can't change the way he's walking, though.
Yeah.
He's walking like an old man now.
Yeah, that's true. Did you see the BTS for how they like shot Gemini Man?
No, I haven't watched
Oh my
stuff yet.
God.
I want to see the movie before I watch all that stuff.
Right.
Oh, it's complete.
The trailers look incredible.
Yeah, well, it's like one of its first in the sense that, so Will Smith, in order to like play his younger self, he literally like does the whole motion capture get up, and it's literally him doing all the younger him motions, and they just CGI. Like, that character is 100% CGI. But when you watch the trailer, you're like, the hell? It looks exactly like him. Looks like I was trying to figure that out. I was like, how did they do that? Is it just seriously good makeup work, or is that CGI? Because that's some of the best CGI.
Yeah, well, the de-aging thing's becoming pretty incredible.
I mean, you're seeing it
because even Sam Jackson in Captain Marvel
Sam Jackson,
was really impressive,
film, right?
Yep. Every once in a while, you could tell it was an old dude walking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because they're the way that old dudes walk that young dudes don't. But
I mean, look at Michael Douglas for Ant-Man. They're constantly.
That's right. I forgot about
how
that.
he looked in Endgame was.
Yes.
I thought it's just so amazing how that technology is just like...
he still had he still had the old man voice.
Right.
You can't, de-age the voice.
Can't do that. Not yet. Just give us a couple 10, 20 years.
Yeah, give it time.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's funny. So what else you got going on? Like you've got the musical theater.
Yeah, I got the musical thing coming up. The other big thing I'm working on right now is my own short film. It's the second. I've made a lot of short films growing up, but it's like I'm calling it my second official short film because this is the second one where I've actually done casting and hired a crew and have a budget.
This is your second semi-professional.
Semi-professional. This one's going to be a lot more professional because we got already got like an amazing cast on board. We're using Haynier B Studios to help produce it. And yeah, it's called In That Moment. It's a short film based on the true events of the 2018 Hawaii missile alert. Yeah, we're people on the island of Hawaii were stranded in chaos for about 38 minutes, thinking that a nuclear missile was about to kill them all.
Right.
And I had written a short film script before this event, and it was about two young lovers that were involved in a missile strike, but it ended with them dying. And I was like, that's not a really great way to end a short film.
That's a perfect way to end a festival short film.
Festival short films, yes. Definitely. Oh, they died. Standing ovation.
Yeah,
on
right.
door.
It's like, wow, original. And I didn't know how to end it. And then that happened, and I met a girl who was on the island when the missile strike, or when the missile alert went out to everybody. And she was there with her brother and sister. Her parents were still back in Michigan. And she said for like the first couple of minutes, they were in their hotel room. They didn't know if it was real or not. And they were like checking online. They couldn't find anything. And then they started hearing people like running down the hallways with like luggage and people trying to get out. And so they just, followed like the mass pandemonium of it. And they're trying to get off the island for like 30 minutes. They're making calls to like loved ones, saying, I don't know what's happening, but I just want to tell you I love you. And
I wonder if there was a spike in births 9 months later.
Do you wonder?
I always wonder about that.
Oh, yeah, because then people just are like, well, this is the end.
I mean, the New York blackout, there was a huge spike in births.
That's crazy, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But yeah, so she like told me that, and then she got the alert that it was a false alarm, and she had like a complete emotional breakdown. She went home, quit her job of 4 years, broke up with her boyfriend, got out of her apartment, and moved out to Los Angeles to pursue her dream of acting.
Wow.
And like her telling me that story, I was like, it was a complete shift in her consciousness of like what mattered most in her life. And she's like, not a lot of people get that opportunity, and I got it at a very young age. And I was like, dang, you just gave me the ending to my short film. So it's a short film about those true events, and it follows a young couple that are caught up in the midst of that. And it has obviously the twist ending of, it not being a real alert, but there's other twists that happen along the way. There's a couple fights, there's a car wreck, and I'm really excited about filming it. And we're just working on finalizing the funding for it. And we've raised about 25% of it, and
nice,
trying to raise it before the end of this year and get it filmed in 2020, which is pretty exciting. So that's kind of the biggest thing that I'm focusing on right now, is getting that produced.
I would say the easiest part about doing a short film is writing it.
Yeah.
The toughest part is raising the money.
Yeah.
Yep. I've written, thank you once again, Dave, for punching it up, a short film, and it's going to take a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just seems so
out there, far away,
unattainable. It's just, how the heck do you start? Where do you get the first dollar?
Right. Yeah. And that's like, we did a round of crowdfunding, and I've done private donations, and I've been really grateful for that so far. And now we're working on grants and private sponsorships. And then we have another second round of crowdfunding that's going to start here pretty soon, which is going to have a little bit of a twist with it, which I'm pretty excited about. But yeah, I totally get the process of, raising the money for it. I feel like I asked 5 different sets of friends that have all like made short films in the last couple of years. I was like, okay, what did you do? How'd you get the money? And it was like either crowdfunding, or they had really rich friends, or I had a couple of friends that were literally like, I either just worked a lot, like overtime on overtime, or there was one of my friends who literally collected antique furniture and sold that antique furniture at like auction houses, and like did that for like a year and a half to make the money for her short film.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like, it's honestly, it's just where there's a will, there's a way. And I've been very grateful to have a lot of people that are behind it, but I'm also grateful to have like some ideas in my pocket of ways to get that money, because gratefully it's not a giant budget. It's $6,000 that we're trying to raise. Yeah, it's not something super huge, but
it's still about the same budget we had for Things Happen.
Right. How much was that budget for that?
$5,500.
Yeah. See, it's yeah.
And we raised it all on crowdfunding.
Right. Oh yeah, that was the one you and I were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's definitely a doable goal, and I've had friends do way more on different platforms. So it'll get done, but yeah, it's just a matter of time.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, after you have gotten through that whole process, made your film, released your film, I want you to come back on and tell us the journey.
Oh, 100%. I would love to do that.
Hear how that journey went for you.
That would be great. I would love to do that.
Cool. Yeah. Well, we'll pencil that in.
It's in my Google Calendar. Thank you. It's done.
Alexa, please remember.
Alexa.
But we got to wrap this up because the three of us all have to get our asses down to Solana Beach because we've got a rehearsal for tonight for the WhoCon performance that we're doing this Saturday.
Show ready.
Again, if you're interested in coming out on Saturday, because I'm going to release this tomorrow, if you want to come out and join us on Saturday, we're at San Diego WhoCon, which is at the 4 Points by Sheraton on Arrow Drive here in San Diego. And you can check out the whole schedule of events. It starts tomorrow on Friday. You can check out the whole schedule of events at sdwhocon.com. And that's who as in Doctor Who. So we're going to be getting our British
British accents on.
Although I think I want you to do a German accent.
I think I have to do my evil Russian voice.
Evil Russian voice.
I got to work on character, but I think I can get him.
You could do closer to Hungarian.
Is it closer? It is. Well, I do have the Hungarian influence in the family. Yes.
Use it.
Yes, I might.
Steve's playing K9. The fun little robot dog.
Oh.
And even funner, I play two characters in the same scene.
Oh God! Oh, so you're just gonna be back and forth.
He's playing like a Boston cab driver and the dog in a taxi cab, and they're having a conversation. So he's got to go from Boston cab driver to that affirmative, like super high pitched dog voice. It's gonna be fun to watch.
That's talent because that's hard to do. I'm excited to see that. So yeah, everybody should. Everybody listening to this should come out and see it because it will be an entertaining thing for Saturday night for you. Plus, you're probably going to spend less than you would on just drinking at the bars down here because we all know how expensive that is.
Well, and the ticket in gets you the whole day of WhoCon, which is a lot of fun. It's fun. It's fun people. It's cosplay. It's voiceover stuff. It's, if you're into British television at all, like it's a bunch of people who really appreciate British television. Like it's a lot of fun. So,
and if you want to laugh your face off, best way to laugh your face off is with this giant group of people. It's gonna be entertaining. That's for sure.
Yeah. So it's 10:30 to 12:30. We're doing the live read, and then I believe it's at 1:30 to 2:30. We're doing a podcast in another room. So
cool.
Yeah, come join us. sdwhocon.com. Chris, thanks for sitting down and chatting with us.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Letting us know a little bit more about you and where you're at and what you're doing and where you're hoping to go. And Steve, thanks for making the drive all the way down from LA today to be my co-host today.
My pleasure. Thanks for waiting for me.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you all for joining us on the Intellectual Podcast. We do this show for you, the audience that listens, as well as for us. I just like listening to myself. That's been the joke for 6 years. It's been the joke for 6 years. It's the only reason I have a podcast is so I have an excuse to listen to my own voice.
That's right. And it's also something great to listen to while you're stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good. So for all you LA people,
very much
this is your podcast.
Well, a lot of San Diegans who listen to the show, they do listen to it like driving to and from auditions in LA. So it's kind of fun, I
love that.
Hopefully, the discussion of pursuing your passion and whatnot, like that's something that helps kind of, keep people motivated while they're stuck in traffic.
Totally.
Yeah, I was just listening to the Sci-Fi Sunday on my way down here.
Oh, Sci-Fi Sunday is our other show. Yeah. Sci-Fi Sunday version 2.0. You can find that at theintellectual.com.
Sorry, I stepped on you.
You go ahead.
No, I was listening to what you were saying when you were talking about Disney, and I'm saying, I wanted to be there. I wanted to interject.
Yeah. We just did a whole episode on Disney on our Sci-Fi Sunday podcast where we talked about Disney Plus and Galaxy's Edge at the park.
So excited for Disney Plus. You have no idea how many hours I'm going to spend on Disney Plus.
Oh, no, I have every idea.
So many days. I'm just going to not work for a week.
I'm waiting for the employee discount.
They better give that to you for free,
so cheap to begin with.
Yeah, I know. It is pretty cheap, but you deserve that for free. Especially
$70 for the year is like not
come on,
a
Disney.
lot of money.
Pay Steven Schwartz more. Give us a break.
Please. Not. You don't have to pay me more. Just schedule me more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. So guys, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
down. Ladies and gentlemen who are listening to the show, thank you so much for your patronage of our little podcast that can. And I'm your host, David S. Dawson. This is The Intellectual. Visit us online at ixe.us or theintellectual.com. Find us on Facebook at Intellectual Entertainment. Find us on Twitter at The Intellectual, on Instagram at The Intellectual. And until next time, you all be good, and we will talk soon.
Love you.
Bye. Affirmative.
Hello there, citizens. I am the terror that flaps in the night. I am the floaty that will not flush no matter how many times you try in the toilet bowl of crime. I am Darkwing Duck, telling you please, talk hard and enjoy the mindgasm. Whatever the heck that means. After all, you are watching Intellectual Podcast with your ears.